comments, questions, and the web, we're still getting your questions as well. Dave?
I'll do a dress rehearsal of that. I'm Dave Parkinson, Globe and Mail. I just wanted to, I know when I first met Brett in his previous non-television famous life, he was still a very famous guy around Calgary, and it brings me to the point of there may be no market in this country, maybe not even in the world, where it's believed to be as true anyway, that it's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, Calgary is a place where people know each other, they get reputations, good and bad, for what they're capable of doing, and that is a major driver of business in that city. And and obviously you have had the fortune to be associated with some extremely successful personalities in that marketplace. So I wanted to throw it open, not just to Brett, but to all of you, about just how important it is to be known and respected and recognized by people in your industry, as far as them being able to leverage that into doing the deals that you want to do.
I'll start with Mike this time, and then we'll go to Brett and then Gloria.
Great question. What I would say is, you know what, it's not always who you know. The true entrepreneurs, the true small business people who make it happen, it's not who they know, it's what's inside, it's their passion, it's their drive. Does it help sometimes to open doors? Absolutely. I wouldn't be telling the truth if I didn't say that. But what I would say is the people who I've sat across and who have been successful and who've told me their story, it hasn't been who they knew. In fact, they have nobody on their side, and despite that, they've made it. And I can think of a client who, whose husband became ill and who started a seasonal industry in the patio furniture and is hugely successful. And trust me, she knew nobody at the time she started her business, but it was a great success story. So it can help, but that should by no means deter anybody who's got the entrepreneurial spirit or the will to do something. You can do it.
Okay, Brett?
And I really do agree, although I'll build a little bit more on networking. When we started First Energy, nobody knew us. Unknown commodity. But it was very important that we have brand and profile to create deal flow over time. And everything we did, whether it was charity or events, it was all about making sure that we were continually building our brand with the right network. At one time, we had a database of over 15,000 people. And believe it or not, I would read that entire database. It was a binder. It was almost 3 inches thick. I would read that once a year. And I would pick out the names by highlighting of the people we wanted to invite to a couple of our key events so that I didn't miss anybody. That was the core. I actually read that list. That's how important our database and the universe of people that we were tracking was to us.
Gloria?
Well, what I know today that I didn't know then was relationships. You need to have relationships. And connections is what's leading to contracts, I didn't have either of those. I thought I knew what I was getting involved in. I thought I had a service edge to provide, and I didn't know anyone. Like I said, I was a no-name entity, so I didn't have the relationships.
And what do you mean by relationship for the audience? Like
the relationships within the corporations that you're targeting. It's at the higher end, the decision makers essentially. And so those were not available to me. Those are built up over time, getting to know, getting your foot in the door. And
what did you do, just call them?
Just call them, and I got a lot of hang-ups, I got a lot of people saying no, people saying call back in 2 months or 2 weeks, and usually that extends to 2 years before you get your foot in the door. But keep persevering, because it's what gets you to where you want to be.
And we're saying perseverance. And it's always a key theme that comes up with entrepreneurs. Is it the ability to take rejection? Brett, I mean, you're highly successful, so people would say, did you take a lot of rejection, if you look in hindsight?
A lot of rejection.
Yeah.
A lot of rejection, yeah. And sometimes it's embarrassing, because you have to call that person back again. You can't stop calling that person. It's somebody that's on your list. You make it your sort of like priority to get to that person. If that person has moved on, you tend to follow that person.
And Brett, what advice to entrepreneurs, how to deal with rejection?
Next phone call is the one that matters.
Matters? Yeah. So just
keep picking up the phone. One of my competitors tells a story of having his head chewed by a client and how upset he was that he'd screwed up in the relationship. And he talks about going downstairs, and he said, I looked at myself and turned around and went back up to his office and said, I want another try. Got kicked out, left, but he tried. He went back and he tried. And all the more power to him. Very successful as a competitor of ours.